Okay, and then we also need to spend some time to talk about levels of data measurements. Basically, what we want to do in this particular video is to tell you that data are different. Data can be categorized into different kinds, and we need to have that idea in mind because different statistical methods may have different restrictions on the kind of data that they may do. Okay, so most of the data that we will play with in this course in typical statistics are numerical. We see numbers, we see counts, we see measurements. But still, if they are all numbers, there are still three possible levels for them to belong to. They can be nominal, ordinal, or quantitative. Okay, so let's take a look at what are them. A nominal scale classifies data into categories with no ranking. And then, in that case, data are actually labels or names that are used to identify attributes. And then the label may be numeric or non-numeric. So basically, if a data is in nominal level, that means they seems to be numbers, but actually they are not. So here are some examples. Suppose I ask everyone in front of me, saying that, do you have a laptop? Some would say yes, some would say no, and then that yes, no is a nominal level data. Because that's just some kind of level, some kind of attributes that is attached to each person in front of me. And that particular item, that particular value are actually categories. So I can categorize my persons in front of me into two classes or two categories. One category with a laptop, another category with no laptop. I may ask people in front of me about their citizenship. Okay, your citizenship is Taiwan, your citizenship is Japan, your citizenship is the United States, blah, blah, blah. And then I may categorize persons in front of me into 5 classes, 10 classes, 15 classes. That's a way to do categorization. And then I may also have country codes. When we make international calls, we have those country codes, right? They look like numbers like 886, 86, or 1 or whatever. But we understand that these are just labels. These are just something that look like numbers, but actually you don't do any arithmetics on it. You're not going to say, oh, I have two calls made to Taiwan and one call made to China, and then their average is blah, blah, blah. You don't do that. Arithmetic operations cannot be applied on nominal data. Okay? For ordinal level, that's somewhat similar. It's just that now the categories they have ranking. We can order those categories, and that order makes some sense, and that's something we call ordinal level data. Okay, so let's see some examples here. If we do some survey about customer satisfaction, then consumers may respond saying, okay, I'm satisfied. Never mind. And well, I don't think so. I don't think your product is good. So if there are 3 categories like this, then they have some orders, right? Satisfied, and then neutral, and then unsatisfied. There is some order there. Professor rank in a university is also similar. So there are 3 kinds of professors in general: full professors, associate professors, and assistant professors. And then there are some kind of orders, Ranking is of course by nature ordinal. So we have 15 students in class, and then they take an exam, and then they have number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, blah, 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 blah. Then in that case, we say, okay, 1 is in front of 2, 2 is in front of 3. That's a categorization, and that's some kind of ranking or ordering. So that's ordinal level, but still we can see that they are still numerical labels. Number 1, number 2 are numerical labels, and their difference still do not imply distances. Like this example, suppose we consider the grade difference between number 1 and the number 5 in our class. Okay, they take an exam. There is a student who is number 1. There's a student who is number 5. There are some great difference. I don't know what that number is, but typically we don't say that it's going to be the same as that particular difference between number 11 and number 15, right? Because their difference in their ranking does not mean their difference in their grades reasonable. So we don't really do arithmetics on ordinal level data. Okay, so now we have quantitative data, which is sometimes they are included in they include interval and ratio levels. So let's see what's that. If we have a quantitative scale, then those numbers are ordered, and their difference really means distances. So that means all these numbers are meaningful quantities and can be applied arithmetics. What are them? Heights, weights, income, prices, degree of temperature, students who students score, whatever. So all these numbers are exactly numbers, numerical data. They can be ordered, they can be counted, they can be used to categorize students into different scales, A+, A-, they are just numbers that can be applied any kind of addition, multiplication, division, whatever on it. So there are some things that is better to know. In many cases, we categorize nominal and ordinal data into qualitative data. Okay? And then for others, they are called quantitative data. So basically, we have two categories. We may have qualitative data, or we may have quantitative data. And for qualitative data, we have nominal data and ordinal data. So that's what we are talking about. And most statistical methods, they apply to quantitative data only. Some also applies to qualitative data. Okay? So that's something we need to have in mind. And when we introduce different kinds of statistical methods, we will remind you again. And it's really important because sometime in this semester, we're going to talk about some issues about what's going to happen if we misunderstand one data set from categorical to quantitative. Okay? There are always students that make some kind of mistake like that. This data set, these numbers are actually qualitative numbers, but they treat them as quantitative and then apply some statistical methods on it and get completely wrong results. That's terrible. So try not to do that. Try be careful about the try to be careful to distinguish categorical data and numerical data. You may call them qualitative or quantitative, or you may call them categorical or numerical. The ideas are just the same. Okay, so a short summary about our video clips. Make sure that you understand these terms. Populations and samples, they are different. Parameters and statistics, they are different. Inferential statistics and descriptive statistics, they are different. Basically, our target is our population. We cannot access to that, so we get samples. From samples, we calculate statistics. And if we just stop there, that's descriptive statistics. If we use statistics to infer populations, or to infer parameters, to make some guess about parameters, that's inferential statistics. Okay? And then, for the scale of measurements, we need to get some ideas about them. So there are nominal data, ordinal data, and quantitative data. If we are talking about the ranking, for ordinal and quantitative, you can do ranking. For nominal, you cannot. If we are talking about physical distance, then for qualitative data, their distance is meaningful. But for ordinal and nominal, they are not so meaningful. Okay? So basically, if you can order them, then that's ordinal or quantitative. If you may apply arithmetics like calculate their average, then that's quantitative. Thank you.